Welcome back. This is the Intel. Politicking aside, let's talk solutions around the country's electricity crisis. I know. It's broader than that. It's an energy crisis. But part of the elements of it have to do with a specific electricity crisis. So that's part of what we are focusing on. Mr. Xivangu, from Eskom, let me ask you then around the issues of, in fact, I think I'll fire about two questions towards you from what has been raised in the last few minutes. Let's start with the issue of prepaid electricity. When I was a junior reporter, it was a big issue around prepaid water electricity. Some of those matters ended up in court. I remember the residents, I think, of Piri rejecting the whole issue of prepaid. What's the situation at this point around prepaid? The complaints that the billing simply doesn't make any sense. I buy for this much, and yet the electricity I realize is never really what I expect, with the result that I'm cut off before the end of the month.
Yeah, thanks for that question. I think maybe what the viewers need to understand, the issue of the inclined block tariff that was raised earlier on, that if you buy electricity, the first 350 kilowatt hours, you buy them at a lower rate, which is 161 cents per kilowatt hour. And if you buy anything above that 350 kilowatt hours, then the rate changes. Then you start paying 182 cents per kilowatt hour. That is the reason why customers will see inconsistencies in the amount of money that they pay for the electricity when they buy prepaid units. And that rate is not necessarily limited to prepaid customers. Even postpaid customers on the same home light rate, they will pay the same amount. So for me, I'm personally using a prepaid electricity. I'm supplied by City of Joburg. So for me, it's convenient in the sense that you can be able to see what you're consuming. You can be able to see as to what are the behaviors that you need to change in terms of your electricity consumption for you to be able to manage the electricity better. But over and above that, also understanding that some customers might not be affording to buy electricity. There is a process whereby indigents can be able to register with their local municipalities, and they can be able to get free electricity. And when they buy for the first 350 kilowatt hours, they can be able to buy at a lower rate. So the inclined block tariff is intended to make sure that people who are using more electricity, then they pay a higher rate so that we can be able to have a cross subsidy for the people who cannot be able to pay at the lower end.
Yeah, you might not be able to talk to this one to its full extent. I hear what you're saying about the lower rate if you're buying, up to 350 kilowatts per hour. That's great, lower rate. But yeah, you as Eskom are killing us though. What other product has gone up by about 15% in the last while? So the other issue, it just has to do with affordability. No matter the rate, it has gotten more expensive. Are you grappling with that as Eskom?
You must remember that the electricity prices are not set by Eskom. We've got the energy regulator that determine as to what are the prices that customers are supposed to be paying for electricity. As Eskom, we apply for the rate that we would like to charge our customers, and the person who has got the final say as to what rate is going to be appropriate to be paid by the customers is the NERSA, who's the regulator in the country.
Yeah, but they don't really have a choice, because if they don't grant you the rate that you want, you'll take them to court and you'll litigate until you get the rate you want. But I do understand that that's not really in your main domain, because, of course, you are responsible. You are the senior manager for maintenance and operations. Let me not be unfair on you by pressing you too much on that particular issue. Malusi Booi, how long are the people of Delft, those 80 households, supposed to wait while you are doing something about this situation? What is this something that you are doing while they live in the dark?
Well, it's not something that we're doing. We will be electrifying those housing units because we have a process to follow. And some of those residents have come to the fore, and they are registering for compliance, and we'll be encouraging them to be part of the grid. But as I've indicated initially, I mean, all of us know that, as you have indicated as well, that Eskom has failed us, and Eskom issues are not going to be resolved today or tomorrow. So what gets to be the solution? The solution thereof is independent power producers going forward to make sure that we get outside the main grid of Eskom, so that locally we can be able to have to offer electricity much cheaper. Because if you go to Modupi and all the power stations that have been built over the years, they have not yielded any form of results at this point. In actual fact, we are told that the infrastructure, as they progress and build it, it's failing on daily basis. So independent power producers, I'm part of people who are using prepaid. As I speak to you now, my house is electrified by the city of Cape Town, and we're using prepaid. And I encourage all our citizens to be on prepaid, because as I've indicated as well, that we are regulating ourselves as homeowners on how much electricity, and we know when to be able to utilize that electricity for our own benefit. But the biggest problem in this country is Eskom. And Eskom, as long as we are still relying on Eskom, there's nothing that we're going to get resolved. I mean, the current president has been the deputy president of President Jacob Zuma, and he was heading and leading the issue of dealing with the issue of rehabilitating Eskom. What has happened 10 years or 12 years or 14 years later? Nothing has been done. So what does it mean? It means that independent power producers are our solution, and so that we can have clean energy for our citizens, and also we can have cheaper energy.
Cleopatra Shezi, when you hear politicians coming and talking solutions to the electricity crisis, what comes to your mind? I mean, I know, for instance, that after President Ramaphosa had been to Soweto for that campaign about a week and a half ago, there were those transformers that were then delivered. And I remember asking Pule Mabe that why did it have to take an election season and the president being confronted in this way for that to happen? And he said it has absolutely nothing to do with the elections. Some politicians are talking about what Malusi Booi is talking about now, that the solution doesn't lie with Eskom. We need to sort of cut out Eskom from this conversation, and as much as possible rely on independent power producers to reduce the cost of it all. But also there are some who are talking about better indigent policies that need to be in place to cushion those who genuinely cannot afford to pay for electricity. Do you believe that there's political will to do any of these things that we are talking about?
Yes, there is a political will. First of all, we must get rid of using coal to generate our energy, because we experimented out of our own research that solar and biogas is doable and it's working. Eskom, Mtate Shibambo mentioned that some they have to register to get free electricity. There is nothing like that. Our gogos in the entire Soweto, we took them to research task to say, let them go and register to get that free electricity. There is nothing like free electricity. Coming to the issue of safe and clean energy, the minute you speak of generating energy out of coal, there is no way that we can be safe, and there is no way that we can use clean energy. And it's also not coming cheap. Energy that is generated by coal is not coming cheap, so we better take the route of solar panels, and we want a socially owned energy rather than we will hear Tate Booi saying they are doing justice. Like, we don't know. The leaders, they failed us a long time ago, and there is no way that they can change today or tomorrow. Even though they are manifestos, they can be how best it is. We need a socially owned energy that will be managed, and in the decision-making process, the end users of that particular energy, they must be the one to dominate on the saying of it. I would like to rest there.
All right, let's pause there for a moment. When I come back, we talk solutions. And I think that's where you will come in even more, Mr. Mallinson, Clyde Mallinson there, because your approach does seem to be focused on what solutions can be brought to bear in as far as this situation is concerned. Away from politicking. Politicking is easy. Let's roll up our sleeves and see what the solutions are. That panel discussion will conclude it in the next few minutes.